Well, we have a major announcement on the show. So it's going to be a very exciting show this week and a very special one indeed. Such a major announcement that I went and I asked the longest associate besides me at Nelson Financial Planning, Christina Lamb, to join me for this special show this morning. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. It's exciting to be part of the big reveal.
Nice. The big reveal. It's kind of like when you watch those property shows and they open up the big screen and people walk in and say, ooh and ah. So I don't know that we'll quite achieve the ooh and ah level that those shows like to roll out. But one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show and make this major announcement with you is that you've certainly been, we've worked together now for well over 20 years. I've been at the firm for 25 years. Started next year is my 25th anniversary as part of Nelson Financial Planning. And for you, not quite that long, but but pretty close, right?
Yeah, I've been with the firm about 21 years.
Yeah, so long period of time. Certainly seen a lot of headlines and seen a lot of
a lot of ups and downs.
Right, a lot of ups and downs, and but I think more importantly, we can also reflect on the fact that we've certainly helped a lot of people over the years.
You know, we really have, and that's one of the reasons that I've personally been here that long is I really agree with the way we do business here, and it's a great company to work for.
Well, that is awesome. So that is good. So if you're looking for a job, right? Yeah. No, that's not the major the major announcement. Part of this is sort of a lead up. You know, as I was thinking, next year, 2024, is the 40th anniversary of Nelson Financial Planning. Didn't start out with that particular name. It used to be known as Nelson Investment Planning Services. Did a name change based upon kind of some online research, things like that, with being able to kind of shift to give a broader understanding or a broader approach of exactly what we do, and that's sort of that financial planning concept. So changed the name to Nelson Financial Planning a few years back, but started back May 1, 1984 by my now late father-in-law, Jack Nelson. And I guess I would say it's been a bit of a busy summer at the office leading into next year. So
yes, it certainly has. You've been quite preoccupied with our little surprise here. It's something you've just talked about for quite some time.
Yes, you've heard me certainly over the years talk about this, and so we finally have gotten to the point where we were able to sit down, find some time over the course of the past several months here, and I sat down and wrote a book. And we just published it 2 weeks ago. If you're a client of the firm, then you probably already either got a copy by going to our annual client celebratory events that we host during the month of October. Had those at the Museum of Art. Lovely evenings, as an aside.
Fabulous. The museum was beautiful, good company, good food. It was enjoyable for all.
Good combination, that is for sure. So, but those that were in attendance got a free copy of our book. Christina's going to hold it up for our YouTube audience. If you're listening to us on radio or on the podcast platforms, then you probably can't see it, but there it is. Next Gen Dollars and Cents. That is the big announcement that we wanted to share with our listening audience, that we have a book, and really some people, have said, for the rest of our clients, we've reached out to them this past week, had a lot of requests for the book, and so we're really excited to share with you sort of why we wrote the book and what the purpose of the book is, and why we think it's important, particularly in today's world, to have that kind of a background. So welcome into the program. This, of course, is Dollars and Cents, where we help you make sense out of all of life's decisions involving your dollars. We're one of Central Florida's longest-running radio programs, coming to you on a host of stations throughout the Central Florida region. Also happen to be one of the top 25 financial planning podcasts on the World Wide Web. My name, of course, is Joel Garris, certified financial planner, certified financial fiduciary at Nelson Financial Planning. We've got a great team of people, one of which is Christina, who also happens to be a certified financial fiduciary as well. The entire team, myself, Christina, and all the folks at Nelson Financial Planning stand ready to help you improve your life with a successful and cost-effective financial plan by providing highly personalized service. We actually get to know you. We have live people that answer the phones, all of the things that we know at the end of the day you really value. So anyway, so an exciting big announcement on today's show, the big reveal of our book that was recently published. It's available on Amazon on a pre-order basis. So if you're a big Amazon person, then certainly there's an opportunity to get onto Amazon and to order it. So good stuff indeed.
Absolutely. So this show, we're going to kind of dive into the book a little bit. So why don't you tell us what the book's about?
Well, there you go. Well, the title of it, first and foremost, is Next Gen Dollars and Cents, and so kind of a play on the radio show podcast Dollars and Cents, and we thought it was important to sort of talk to the next generation of investors and clients, because at the end of the day, we really do feel like there's a lot of missing information out there. You'd think that in the world that we live in, where there's this broad approach or so much information available at our fingertips, that everything would be easy to understand, and I guess we all find it's not really that way.
Well, and it's not always easy to understand, and it's not always true.
Well, that is very true.
Thing.
The absence of barrier to entry
yes.
When it comes to putting an article up on the internet, or putting a video up, or putting a TikTok video, anybody can do it. So how do you know if there's really experience and truth behind a lot of what you see? So the book really does lay out some of the tools and strategies for folks to know and apply to achieve that financial success. So, we entitled it Next Gen Dollars and Cents, but the reality is that whether you're just starting out and sort of part of those other generations, or whether you're part of the generation that's getting ready to retire, or even the generation that has retired, it really is designed to help everybody, no matter where they are on sort of their financial journey, because there's certainly something in there for everyone.
Definitely. So why don't you get into a little bit about why you wrote the book?
Well, I mean, first of all, I guess you got tired of me threatening to do it. Would be the first. I
was proud that you dove in. I thought it was never going to happen. I'm not going to lie, and it was a way bigger endeavor than I thought.
A way bigger endeavor than what I thought. You go through the process of trying to, okay, here's what we want to put in it, and then over the course of time, the entire team participated in this process. So I really have them to thank for that. The reality is that there really are three main reasons why we wrote the book. And that, first and foremost, is to help you and to help your children and your grandchildren sort of understand the fundamentals. That's the kind of the next generation sense of the book. The other reasons are to just kind of sift through the noise, if you will. We live in a 10-second soundbite world, and my goodness, it really is difficult to get good information. And then the final purpose, which is a broader purpose, we'll have to share after the break. So we're going to take a break. When we return, we're going to talk about our big announcement, our big reveal in the form of our new book, Next Gen Dollars and Cents. This is Dollars and Cents, and my name is Joel Garris, Nelson Financial Planning. We'll be back after these messages. So big announcement, big reveal on the show today. The recent publication of our new book, Next Gen Dollars and Cents. Before the break, Christina had asked me the question about sort of why did you finally sit down after all these years and write the book? And certainly the point is to help you and to help your children and grandchildren really understand the fundamentals. Look, the reality is, and we all know these statistics, over the course of the next 30-odd years, 25 years even, there's a massive amount of wealth that's going to transfer from one generation to the next.
Definitely. And a lot of tax rules, too, that are going to be implications of that.
Huge tax rules, which certainly is your area of expertise as an IRS enrolled agent. Mm-hmm. The reality is that you really need a game plan. Whether you're the generation that is going to be the giver or the generation that is going to be the receiver of this money, there has to be a game plan. So that was one of the biggest reasons why we wanted to sit down and kind of write the book. The other thing, as we were mentioning before the break, is just the noise out there. It's 10-second videos, and it just seems like we forget that anytime you want to achieve something, it's over time. It doesn't matter, Christina, whether you went to school and that's not. They don't give you a diploma at the end of the first week. They make you kind of stick around for like 4 years and sometimes 5, depending upon how you're tracking. I was 5. You were 4. You were 4.
Oh,
I was 5.
College?
Yeah.
You I
were
got
5.
6 somewhere in there. I took a semester off. I was 5 as well.
But it results, if it's anything, it's achieved over time, and you don't get to $1 million or whatever your goal is without that first dollar. And then, I do have some concerns over sort of the next generation, and by that I mean, that generation is not going to have any pensions. It's not going to have the kinds of things that we're seeing in our generation, Christina, even diminishing. Like we're seeing the sort of the disappearance of pensions across the board. I doubt pretty much anybody in the next generation is really going to have that as an option.
Yeah, there's very few pensions left out there.
Right. And throw in the big question mark that is Social Security, okay? And then the educational system that, I think kind of fails our youth in terms of these concepts and these skills. So those were the kind of the reasons why we decided to kind of write those books. There's sort of the 3 purposes, if you will.
Gotcha. So why did you choose to write the book now? As I've previously said, many years have gone by. It's been discussed and talked about, but what made you do it now? Yeah,
I've been writing it in my head for the past 20-odd years, I suppose. When I started in this business, I taught an adult continuing ed program and about financial. It was life's financial strategies, and so that was kind of the genesis of it. I also think it was just time where we have a great team in place at Nelson Financial Planning, and they all are kind of up to speed with kind of what our mission is to help people and to be able to respond as quickly as possible and to pay attention to the details. And so for that, really writing the book, I have the rest of the team at Nelson Financial Planning to thank, because were it not for them, then I would not have been afforded the time to kind of go through and write the book and go through that process. And certainly the rest of the team was invaluable on editing things, researching things. I think you made a great suggestion about including in the retirement chapter something on the Florida retirement system. Yeah. So it was that good feedback that we really were able to kind of really put it all together, I suppose. So we're excited to make the big announcement of the availability of the book.
All right. So let's get into a little bit about the format. How is the book structured for people to go through?
Yeah, so there's 232 pages, total of 21 different chapters. Each chapter sort of breaks out a different topic or a different subject that you would have within the sort of the financial world. The first part is sort of breaks down sort of the fundamentals, how to make a financial goal, how to do a budget. It's got QR codes in there that will directly connect you to a budget template that you can use, that you can download and use. And then sort of the second part deals with kind of the investments, right? Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, things like that, and kind of the rates of return over time. The third part focuses on kind of life's big purchases, right? So college, maybe taxes, retirement, Social Security. And then, of course, the last part, it concludes with sort of how everybody's life concludes, which is that we all are going to pass away at some point. So that talks about estate planning, the pitfalls of inheriting. Really kind of the last part leans more into that conversation about, okay, next generation, dollars and cents. How do you make sense out of all of these different decisions that you're going to have with these dollars that are going to be part of that big wealth transfer from one generation to the next?
Gotcha. So I think one of my favorite parts of the book are the tools that are in there. I think that helps a lot of folks. And not only do we talk about it, but there's some practical things in there for them to utilize. What was the most interesting chapter to you?
That's a good question. As I was sitting down kind of trying to figure that all out, I mean, I guess probably the most interesting one was the pitfalls of inheriting money. That allowed me to sort of tell some stories and give some general concepts and principles that I think people don't necessarily think about when it comes to inheriting money and the difficulties that you can run into. You think it's just so easy, I just inherited money, but there's a lot going on that would make it much more difficult.
All right, and then what was the easiest chapter? And you can't say the whole book because you've been doing it for so long.
I would say, I guess the easiest chapter was probably the financial fundamentals. Those are the things that we talk about and we've talked about for years on the radio program pretty extensively. And so, that's probably, the notion that some things really never change, right?
Yep.
And so that was probably the easiest one to kind of write.
All right, and then how about the hardest to go along with that one?
Probably the hardest chapter would have been either the taxes chapter, because how do you boil that down into a few pages?
And not lose everybody.
Right, and not be like, oh, okay. And then the chapter on retirement accounts. I think there's a lot of moving rules that we've talked about on the program in episodes past that ultimately I think it just was hard to kind of really explain succinctly where some of these rules are in terms of distributions and things like that out of these retirement accounts.
Gotcha. And why don't we get into a little bit on how folks can get the book?
Yeah. So, obviously it's available on Amazon. On Amazon, it's still in pre-order form. So I think it'll be, you can order it on Amazon today, but it won't ship until the end of November. So that's one option. On Amazon, it's $14.99, but we really are doing kind of a special, if you will. Okay. And that was the other part of the big announcement that we wanted to share with our listening audience, is that if you request the book between now and December 31, we're going to send you an absolutely free copy of the book. So in order to do that, just go to our website, Nelson Financial Planning, and you'll see there's a little banner at the top of that website. There's a button where you can click and request your free copy, and there's no limit on that. I know for our clients, we've certainly reached out to them this past week, many of which have ordered 3, 4, 5 copies. And
I couldn't believe
right?
the pile of mail. I thought it was all sort of surreal.
Yeah, and to send them to different addresses too, which was really neat. Where they were asking asking to send copies to their kids and grandkids and things like that.
So that offer is for anyone.
That offer is for anyone.
Anyone can reach out and get a free copy until the end of the year.
After December 31, it'll be more available to, exclusively to our clients. But between now and December 31, great opportunity to get your absolutely free copy of our book, Next Gen Dollars and Cents.
Awesome.
Available through our website, Nelson Financial Planning, or you can call the office, 407-629-6477, and we'll get your copy in the mail to you within days. So welcome back to the show. Obviously, we don't want to totally monopolize the show with conversation about our big announcement, our new book, Next Gen Dollars and Cents. We want to help make some sense out of some dollar decisions that you may very well be facing right now. Chief among them is some of the things that happen in the Secure Act that ultimately impact your retirement. 90 different changes in that one piece of legislation. Christina, you've spent some time kind of going through the details, and you've got some things that are important for this year to focus on in terms of those changes.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Joel said, there were 90 different changes implemented. However, we're going to focus on the four most important for this year. So that is the startup tax credit for retirement plans for employers. So this would allow if an employer starts a new retirement plan to receive some tax credits, and that's for small businesses. The next is relaxed required minimum distribution rules, or as we refer to it, your RMD. The third is the Roth option available for employer contributions. So the Roth option is an after-tax option, which gives you a little bit of flexibility once you retire. We'll get into that a little deeper in a minute. And the fourth is also a Roth option on simple and SEP IRAs, which are generally for small businesses, I guess you could say, with not so many employees.
So a lot to go through there. Let's start with kind of some of the tax credits. I guess the notion behind that is to encourage employers, I guess smaller employers, to establish these types of 401k or other types of plans for their employees to be able to participate.
Yeah, absolutely. So the startup credit basically has two parts, and that's helping these smaller firms, encourage them, I guess you could say, to have a retirement plan. So the first part allows a credit for the startup costs. So that would include things like a TPA, which is a third-party administrator. There's also record keeper costs, which keep track of all the contributions and tax forms and things like that. And then also they can get reimbursed for financial professionals.
Wow. Okay.
Expenses.
So even like the cost, if there's a financial professional cost, then they can even reimburse for that. Wow.
Exactly.
That's great. Yeah, and that obviously would help to offset the cost of implementing the plan, because particularly for a small employer, those costs can be kind of significant.
Yeah, definitely. Especially that first year, getting everything together and coming up with a game plan. So the second part of it, which probably ultimately is a bigger piece, but up to 100% of employer contributions for the first $1,000 per employee who make less than $100,000, they will receive a credit for. So that's each an individual employee that participates.
So that really is not just so there's two parts of this, and that second part, I guess, is the newer part, right? Mm-hmm. So the first part, we're going to give you a tax credit to offset the cost of setting up a new plan.
Right.
The other part of the tax credit, though, is now we're giving you a tax credit for you, the employer, to actually make that employer contribution on behalf of your employees.
Exactly. They're enticing them to make that match. I think in COVID era, if you would, we sort of saw that back off for a lot of companies as just a way to save some money and get by, which is understandable. Didn't always come back for everyone. Right. So I think they're really pushing for that.
Wow. No, that's pretty powerful. So that's kind of the big first one out of the box. What then the next one I think you mentioned was about the RMD rules, and maybe those have kind of shifted a little bit as well.
Exactly. So the RMD is your required minimum distribution. So once you reach a certain age and you have a retirement account, you have to take this distribution. Now, previously, It was 70.5 a few years ago. It's been gradually increasing. We're currently at 73 is the age where you have to start taking your RMD. And that is also going to bump up in the next 10 years to 75 way out in 2033.
So you've got some flexibility on the required minimum distribution and kind of the time within which you'd have to start to take that.
Yeah, and now the other thing they adjusted with that, which I've always thought was just a little ridiculous, was the penalty if you didn't take your RMD and you were supposed to. It was previously at 50% of the required minimum distribution amount, which is really excessive.
One of the highest penalties in the tax code.
Yeah, it was just sort of absurd. Anyways.
Because you'd also then have to pay the taxes.
Right.
So like...
Pay the taxes on the money, but then also pay the penalty.
Right. So
that you didn't get.
So it could easily add up to be 70-80% of the amount that you would have taken. I mean, that's how draconian that penalty is. So the Secure Act 2.0 finally got around to sort of addressing, or at least tried to adjust that. Right. So how did it do that?
And they dropped it down to 25%.
Okay, so a little more reasonable.
A little bit more than half. And there is a little clause in there as well. If you didn't take it and you realize it within a timely manner, whatever that exactly means, they're going to drop that penalty down to 10%. So let's say you make up and you take it the next year. Instead of getting the 25% penalty, it's only the 10% penalty.
Okay, so good. So at least the ability to correct after the fact, where before you never really had that had that option.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Interesting. So then, I guess the other big change from the Secure Act had to deal with sort of expanding the Roth option, right? And so just to recap the difference, so you got the traditional, which is if you put money in, you save on your taxes now, but when you take it out, you got to pay taxes. The Roth, you don't save on your taxes now, but when you take it out, it becomes tax-free in retirement. So the Secure Act, I guess, expanded the Roth.
Exactly. So previously, only the pre-tax option was available. Now, employer contributions can go towards the Roth side as well. Now, it is up to the employee how they want that to happen, but it gives them a little bit more flexibility if for whatever reason they don't want to take the deduction now, I guess you can say, especially for our young folks out there, that it might be a better option for them when they're making less earlier on in life.
Yeah. Well, and now the Roth sleeve for the employees is relatively new as well, but that's been around for a few years. This change has to relate to how you direct the employer piece.
Portion, yes. And the good thing for the employer is it's still a deduction for them.
Regardless of which the employee chooses.
Correct. Whether they go on the Roth side or the traditional side, the employer still gets that deduction.
That's really interesting. Yeah. So I mean, if it doesn't make a difference, then I would imagine more often than not, and we really haven't kind of fully analyzed this, but my gut would say that if your employer's making the contribution, you might as well just have them do it on the Roth basis.
Right, because that's not part of your income anyways.
Right.
So you can have a little bit of both worlds. It doesn't have to be all Roth or all traditional. You could do a little bit of both.
Interesting. And that's for this year. So folks need to be aware of this now and be adjusting how those contributions are getting made into which sleeve of their accounts they really should be putting that money. Yeah.
Absolutely. Those changes can be implemented now. So the fourth is Roth Simple and SEP IRAs. So simple and SEP plans generally were only available traditionally, like a traditional IRA, if you would, prior to this. This now gives that flexibility to what I would call our smaller businesses who generally don't have that many employees. These plans are a little cheaper to run, which appeals to the smaller businesses, but they now too can have the Roth option.
So that's really kind of interesting as well. We're now in the 401ks, 403bs. A few years ago, they added in the Roth option. Now, pretty much now I guess every type of employer plan out there is now has the Roth sleeve.
Yeah, I think the real goal, they were trying to make some changes for retirement plans based on the fact, like you previously brought up, that we no longer have pensions for the most part. So this is giving, employees a little bit more flexibility. As with anything, make sure you do your homework to understand how each of those options are going to affect you. It may work for you if you're a younger person to do the Roth side. You may need that tax savings, though, if you're kind of in the height of your career and making the most of your income, to keep with the traditional side where you get the tax savings now.
Yeah, certainly. But on the employer contribution side, then
Yes.
you can say, hey, I'm going to do that on the Roth
I
side.
think that pretty much stands for anyway.
Yeah. I would. I
It
don't
almost
know
should
that
be a default.
that's what I'm thinking. I mean, we haven't kind of really fully, because this is all brand new stuff. But yeah, that I think is kind of where I would fall on the decision. So, but anyway, hey, that's why we do the show each and every week, to keep you abreast of the latest and greatest. I'm sure we'll be talking more about these changes, and then there's obviously in the years ahead a lot of changes as well. So we're going to continue the conversation here on Dollars and Cents when we return after these messages. This is Joel Garris. Joining me is Christina Lamb here on Dollars and Cents. So it's certainly been an interesting show, we hope, for you, our listening audience, and certainly exciting for Christina and myself as we share with you our big announcement for what's transpired at Nelson Financial Planning. Christina is holding that up for the camera for our YouTube audience. We wrote a book this summer entitled Next Gen Dollars and Cents, sort of all the tools and strategies that you and your next generation need to know in order to achieve financial success. Earlier in the program, Christina, we were talking a lot about the book, and as you've said, this has been something I've been threatening to do for a while.
Yes, definitely. I've heard much about it over the years.
And finally put pen to paper, and fortunately we have you and the rest of the team at Nelson Financial Planning to thank for allowing me to have that flexibility to kind of focus on this book over the course of the summer months, and sort of get those thoughts down on paper. So we want to share that with you because we think that it's going to be valuable for you and your next generation to appreciate and understand sort of some of those tools and strategies that you need to achieve financial success. So we've got a special offer, right? For all of our listening audience.
Absolutely. I can't believe you're doing this. It's very generous of you.
Well, I think I'm glad that we've had good response so far.
Absolutely. So from now until the end of the year, you can reach out to the office either calling us at 407-629-6477 or go onto our website and request a free copy of your book, Next Generation Dollars and Cents.
Yeah, good stuff. Available on Amazon at $14.99. It's still in the pre-order phase. That will end at the end of November. But yes, we wanted to offer our listening audience because many of you, as we know, have been listening to us for years, and we appreciate your loyalty and continued support. And so we thought this would be a good way to just say thank you for listening to us all these years as we kind of think ahead. As we mentioned at the top of the show, next year is our 40th anniversary as a firm. And certainly it's been through the support of loyal listeners and clients, like many that listen to the program, that we appreciate. So we thought this was a nice little gift, maybe timed around the holidays. You can even give it as a little stocking stuffer, if you will.
Some reading when they have some time off on the holidays.
Yeah, that is the hope. So between now and the end of the year, it will be offering a complimentary for anybody who would like a copy, and we're not, unlimited amount of copies if you like, and so good stuff indeed. We're excited about it. Christina, you mentioned earlier in the program, it has a lot of tools inside of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of my favorite parts of the book, or making it practical, I guess that's why I liked it so much, were some of the tools that were in it, and also the QR codes. So not only did you get some ideas and ways to use them, but it makes it practical, so you can create your own budget or things like that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the tools within the book? Yeah,
so we actually create a separate website for the book. It's Next Gen Dollars and Cents, so there's a separate website as well. If you're curious and want to just read the first few chapters of the book, I think that website, Next Gen Dollars and Cents, has the first 3 chapters on it. So if folks want to read the first bit of the book, even later on today, way, they can certainly do that. The reality is that that website also houses some of the tools that we created. The two biggest ones, which are things that we've talked about extensively here on the program. Christina, I know you and Rob did a radio program.
Our budget show.
Yes, that's exactly right. Earlier back in July, talking about budget. That's such an important concept, and so probably the biggest tool is the creation of kind of a budget tool that you can go to the website, you can download, you can save it, you can use it. And that is our hope, that people will use that. That's available free at any point in time.
And that's like an Excel spreadsheet, right? So
Correct.
they can put their numbers in. It's going to show you where you
Correct.
are, maybe categorize it so you can see where your overages or underages might be.
Correct. And there's pie charts, and it looks,
Fancy smancy.
It was not. Yeah, I was not the creative juice behind that. And so yes, it is a user-friendly format where it flows through to create pie charts and graphs and things like that. And then the other tool that I'm excited about is that, and we don't hear as much about this one, but the net worth tool. And I think that's just a great way for individuals to sort of know where they are and how they are tracking over the years. We encourage folks to kind of sit down and figure out what their net worth is every year. In order to sort of monitor and then save it, and then that way you can kind of monitor your progress.
Yeah, I think that's great for like personal growth. I think a lot of us, we do all this stuff and we're trying to save and we're trying to do all these things, but to actually look at it every year, it can go to help you save or maybe save more if you need to, and just have some positive affirmation on what you're doing.
Yeah,
hopefully.
because remember, net worth is basically very simply, kind of what you own minus what you owe. And if you're seeing it trending in the wrong direction, then it certainly gives you an opportunity to kind of try and course correct, if you will.
Yeah, and hopefully do that before you're at to a point where it's, hard to correct.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That and that's the importance of kind of keeping track of it, and then why all of these are downloadable, savable, that are tools available for anyone who goes to the website.
Got it. Perfect. All right. So what do you see the future of the book holding? Where are you going with this? I thought it was pretty cool you did this on the 40th anniversary year. I don't know if that just happened to be or was that intentional?
It was when I got to the point where I said, okay, this needs to get done or else it's never going to get done. I think obviously a book is a very traditional format and traditional platform. And so we recognize that there are newer platforms, things like videos, much like what we do with the radio program. So we anticipate kind of doing a video on each chapter. Like we said, there's 21 chapters. So over time, we're going to be doing some videos on each chapter.
Okay.
And then I know an audiobook is also in the works as well.
Now, are you going to do that?
So
I think you should. I mean, your voice is very iconic, especially with our radio listeners.
Well, I appreciate that. I had not thought that one all the way through as to how we were going to pull that off. But obviously, here at the office, we're sitting in the Nelson Financial Planning Studios. For those that come and visit us at the office, you get the opportunity to see the studio, and so we are set up to do that. So that's probably reading it is probably going to be a little bit easier than writing it. So we'll probably do that as well. But I'm excited, and certainly there's a lot more worksheets and workbook type of things that will come from this as well. So certainly excited about the future. This in Irvine is only kind of the beginning, but certainly a beginning that we hope will help a lot of people out there in Central Florida.
So you're going to add on to it, basically.
Yeah, I think so. It certainly lends itself to being able to kind of explore and add on to many different things, and certainly being able to get it complimentary between now and the end of the year, I think is hopefully a worthwhile offer that many of our listening audience will take advantage of.
Yeah. And remember, you can call the office to get your complimentary copy at 407-629-6477 or go to our website, NelsonFinancialPlanning.com.
Yes, happy to send out as many copies as possible. And thank you for listening to the show, and thank you for allowing us to make our big announcement on this week's show. Enjoy the rest of the day, and thanks for listening to the program.